Hi, I'm Mac McCarthy, and I help people with their breakups. And today we are live. I'm going to be going live all this week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So if you're getting this later on, stay tuned. Got 2 stories on deck. Why is my breakup story important? I've talked about this, I don't know, many times. But we got new people with new breakups, with new stories coming in every day. And I just want to recap on this. Been doing this 4 years now, and it's really surprising how underrated the idea of your story is. Okay, and it's a simple thing to do. It's a really simple thing to do. And I wrote this in the description today, and I'm going to read it to you because it kind of nails it down. We build a case for why we feel the way we feel, for why we make decisions. We also build a case for why others do what they do. In most cases, our story lacks, with an S, facts, with an S, and is heavy on assumptions and cognitive bias. A bias we don't even know is there. It is most important to know your story, know your breakup story, because it tells you a lot about yourself. The areas that you are hung up on, the areas that have you stuck, most breakups come down to a few problems. The question isn't if your ex is wrong or right, if you're wrong or right. It is, can those problems be fixed? Do you both want to work to fix those problems? And is this really a relationship worth saving? Was it really a good one, or were there a lot of potholes you're just not seeing now? So what happens here, and I'm gonna go over this statement one more time, and I'm gonna unpack it a little fuller. But what happens a lot of times is that you just have these short bursts of telling people about your breakup based on feelings, highly emotional, right? If you take some time and just write out your story like these people have done that have sent your stories in, and this is just a start. Okay. This isn't like, oh, I'm going to feel so much better right after I write my story. No, it's kind of a discovery mission. So when you write out your story, a lot of times people say, wow, just writing out my story, I've kind of felt better. Right? Because you don't get a whole lot of people in 2022 that want to listen to you for long periods of time. Newsflash. Right now, the world's suffering from a lack of attention span for individuals, especially adults. People don't listen for long periods of time. It has to do with the internet. Okay. And so you being heartbroken, upset, angry, done wrong, want to talk about your stuff. This is why therapy's never been more of a growing profession, right? But a lot of people don't want to listen. So I'm going to unpack the description statement a little deeper one more time. So we all build a case for why we feel the way we feel. Now, really think about that for a moment. Okay. If I tell you I feel a certain way, my mind comes up with reasons for that. Okay. For why we make decisions, we also build a case for why others do what they do. This is assumption based. So you know basically why you do what you do with what comes up, but a lot of times you're bullshitting yourself. That's why you need a coach or a therapist to help you sift through the bullshit. In most cases, our story lacks facts. This is so tremendously huge. A lot of times people are writing their stories assumption based, wishful thinking, um, cognitive bias is what I've mentioned, which means you want to believe something. So you add something to the story that you think is true, but you don't know is true, which is a totally different ballgame, right? And so when you write this story, if someone's writing, I think she did this, I think he did this, I think means I don't know. Okay. I saw a Facebook post and I think what they're doing is this. I saw them in a picture and I think they're doing this. You don't know. Now, ignorance and not knowing, because that's what ignorance means, is not a bad thing. In fact, if someone doesn't know something, I think it's far better to say, I just don't know than I think. Okay. Now, there's certain fields of your life where you might have a hunch. Okay. I'm a big sports fan, so I'm always going to reference sports. If I'm following a certain ball club and I know that team and I know they're good, I know their players, I know their injuries, I know the team that they're playing, I can make a prediction that's not absolutely true, but is educated. That is a good hypothesis of what most likely is going to be the outcome of that game and who's more likely to win. This is why we have an odd system. So when people look at a breakup and they go, Mac, what do you think? Like, do you think there's a chance here? Do you think she'll ever come back to me? Do you think he'll ever come back? Do you think he'll change? Well, first off, I need to hear your story. Second off, there's no guarantees. But we do have to sift through what's factual and not factual and what's you're just making up to feel better, right? Because we often do that. And so, really, when you go through your story, you got to get to the parts where you're like, okay, I'm really not sure. But sometimes there's areas that you know a lot about that tell a lot of information once I start asking questions that reveals a whole lot. Well, when we were together, this is an example. Well, when we were together, she used to drink kind of a lot, but I didn't mind because we were having fun. But then when we moved in together, it became more of a problem. The problem with something like drinking, right? And I'll have a cold beer on occasion myself. But when someone drinks regularly, right? And let's say when you first meet that they are a pleasurable drunk or drinking companion to be around. But if they rely on drinking as a way of feeling better regularly, right? Well, then when something goes wrong, they're probably going to double down on the drinking. So when someone tells me, "Oh, we used to always drink together, but now it's become a problem," I don't understand. Well, now their problems in their personal life have become something they can't deal with, and they deal with it with the drink. And you're thinking, "Well, I didn't have a problem in the beginning, but now it's a problem," right? Getting back to the description, a bias we don't even know is there. It's most important to know your story, your breakup story, because it tells you a lot about yourself. The story you're telling me in your breakup, the way you have come up with it, tells me a lot about you. You're a negative or a positive person. You're guilt ridden, you're shameful, you're overly sorry, or it's all their fault. It's all their fault, right? And here's the thing, I'm not here to tell you how to feel. I'm here to hold space and listen and get to the bottom of what happened. But what's really intricate about human beings is you all have different passwords at the gates. Okay. And this is what I've learned. How I communicate with one person will be different than how I communicate with another person. The advice I give one person for a similar problem, such as a breakup where cheating happened. Let's go into emotional cheating. I was talking to someone at lunch about this. Emotional cheating is a new hot topic, right? It's a debatable topic, right? What does emotional cheating mean? Someone will say, oh, it means this, it means that. It's a pretty new thing. I don't think they had emotional cheating in the 1800s, the 1920s, the 1940s. No one was going, oh my God, my wife emotionally cheated on me, right? It wasn't a part of human relationships till recently with the internet and whatnot. But if someone's going to accuse someone of emotional cheating, the perception, the interpretation of what went down in their story is probably going to be different. Someone that's accused of emotional cheating goes, it's not cheating unless I hook up with the person and have physical contact. They're not going to debate it. Someone else will go, oh my God, I'm so sorry that I cheated on you. And then you go, well, you have to decipher between was it emotional or physical? You see what I'm saying? So the information's always going to be different. It's always going to be different. Your story also helps you with the areas that you're hung up on. What do I mean by that? Basically, you're stuck. Why did she do this? Why did he do that? Well, let me hear your story first. Because again, you might have a password to the gate that you don't even know is there. You have way more resources out of a breakup than you know you have, but you're stuck somewhere. Because if you've been with someone a while and they're acting incongruent with the way they've been acting for 2, 3, 4 years, you're a little bit lost because you're like, wait a minute. I had all the passwords. I had the playbook. We were in love. I could do no wrong. What happened here? You have to take 2 steps back before you can take 2 steps forward, and it starts with the breakup story. And then most breakups come down to a few problems. Now, when I say a few problems, I don't mean the same problems. I just mean that when you get down to the nitty-gritty of it, a lot of times, if I boiled it down, a lot of breakups are over trust. I don't believe what they're saying. I believe you did this, but you didn't do this. A lot of breakups are coming down to someone just changing. Someone changed. And you don't like it. You like the person that you were first with. And then you're trying to figure out, why did they change? Someone got in their ear, they got new friends, a family member that's been in the background for years has reappeared and made a cameo and got in their ear. They got a new job, a new identity, right? But how you perceive that situation is always going to be different. And the question isn't, is your ex wrong or right? Are they a narcissist? Are they a psycho? I mean, I've had people, they're a psychopath. Okay, that's confirmed that they're a psychopath. So when you were together, they weren't a psychopath, but then they became a psychopath. No, I didn't know in the beginning. These labels, which I'm going to talk about tomorrow, same time, 10 a.m. Pacific time. These labels, I don't know if they do anything for you post breakup. Calling someone a clinical name like narcissist, I just want to know, how does that help you move forward? We'll get into that tomorrow. The next question would be, how do you fix these problems? Are they fixable? You know, a lot of times you're stuck at the gate because you know the problem, but you know that it's not going to get fixed. If someone, for example, the common theme for a woman in her early to mid 20s, maybe she's in university, she lives with a couple girlfriends, the girlfriends are single, they go out, they have fun for 2, 3 weekends, and the girl starts thinking, it'd be nice to be single, right? And the boyfriend's going, what the hell? I hate this. I hate her friends aren't good, or this or that. You're not going to change that. She wants to see what it's like to be single. Very common. All right, let's get into the first story. We got 2 on deck, 2 likes. If you're coming to this live stream later on to watch it, all week I'll be on at 10 a.m. Pacific time, and we'll be dropping the stories. So if you'd like to send in your story, go to writemac.com, WRITEMAC. So I'm just going to timestamp this story. So here we go. Here's my story. I broke up with my ex 3 months ago, but we sort of got back together a month ago, or so I thought. I'm 33 and she's 25. So right off the bat, we have a bit of confusion here. Or so I thought. You were misled, manipulated, possibly. I don't know, but you're pretty unsure. Thanks for the age. That helps. We met at Walmart. What a romantic place to meet. I know it's not the best place to meet a girlfriend, but she was doing well when I met her. Well, there's a perception there. That was 3 years ago. She was going to community college and training to be a dental assistant with her long-term plan to be an actual dentist. That sounds good on paper. That really impressed me, as I'm a male nurse and do value a good career. Well, go for you, man. She also had a 2-year-old when I first met her, but she only had partial custody. as the dad had a new wife and took care of the baby during the week, with my girlfriend getting the kid just on the weekends. All right, so you write in as I stutter here. She's got a 2-year-old. Okay, so that's going to be a part of her life forever. And I get these stories a lot where it's kind of like, oh yeah, it's an afterthought. You're talking about her career, you're talking about her. The 2-year-old's going to come first. She's a mom, right? So this is going to be a part of your relationship. I've said this often. You better be on board with this and like the kid. Okay? So as the dad had so let me just repeat that. She also had a 2-year-old when I first met her, but she only had partial custody. As the dad had a new wife and took care of the baby during the week, with my girlfriend getting the kid just on the weekends. I wasn't excited about her having a kid. So right there, I know that's just a kind of throw-in statement in your story. It's not going to work. From the get-go, you're not excited. You don't have to be excited about it, but you do have to be accepting and at least neutral, open to the idea. If you're like not excited about it, it's 2 years old. It's got a lot more years on deck that it's going to be more. I would say probably when that kid gets 5, 6, 7 years old, you're going to be more involved. Okay. Actually, it bugged me at first, but I let it go because it was only weekend. So the baby didn't get in the way of our intimate time. So right there, a lot of people listening to this go, oh, what a selfish asshole. No, this is why it's good to write your story anonymously, because you could be honest. You probably wouldn't tell your friends and coworkers that. They go, oh, what a jerk. This is how you really felt. Fine. Fine with me. You don't like having a 2-year-old in the background. Okay, no problem. But here's the thing. Just because the husband has a wife right now and whatnot, and she only has weekend access, it doesn't mean the kid's not going to go away. So right there, this is a huge red flag for you, because you're getting into something you're not all in on. And in relationships, if you're not all in, it's okay. But when there's a kid involved, it's a different ball game. Don't you agree? Different ball game. I told her up front I wasn't looking to have kids, and she agreed it wasn't on her list too. Well, looking at this, it says she's 25, so it's probably not on our list right now, but stay tuned because it's coming soon. We went from dating to living together very quickly. I was the one that asked her to live with me, as she was still living with her grandparents, and grandpa didn't seem to like me. So red flag number 2, I don't mind that you're living together. I don't mind that you helped her out. Did you just want her to live with you because she was living with her grandparents and that was inconvenient to your intimacy? Or did you really want to live with her? Okay, you're 33 years old. You've got a little bit more tread on the tires, right? So looking at it, grandpa doesn't like you. Okay, why? This would be something if we were doing a live coaching call, I'd have to unpack this a little bit. Why doesn't the grandpa like you? How much of an influence does he have on his granddaughter also? And what does she feel about that? Because that's going to affect the relationship. Now, that doesn't mean you got to go kiss grandpa's ass and win him over. You just got to be aware of that dynamic, because that's not going away. She's not going to never talk to her grandpa again, most likely. When she first moved in, it was pretty good. But on the weekends when the baby was there, I won't lie, I wasn't up for taking care of another man's kid, but I played the role. So right there, you're saying I'm playing a role, right? And you're playing a role for what? Because you want to get some? Be honest with yourself. There's a 2-year-old kid involved here. The kid's not going away. You're not happy from the jump street, right? You're not in, right? You're 33 years old, dude. There's plenty of fish in the sea, right? I would recommend, when you reread this story, let's say that this was your daughter, your niece, someone that was really close to you, and she's 25 years old, and she's dating you with her 2-year-old. Would that be good? Let's just think of that for a moment, right? When people come to me and they go, oh, well, would this person come back? Were you a good partner? Were you a good boyfriend? Were you a good girlfriend? In this particular case, you saying that you're playing a role with someone that has a 2-year-old kid and you're not happy with the fact that they have a kid, you're affecting 2 people. Looking back, I just thought that all relationship has some sort of sacrifice. Well, you're right on that one, dude. 2 points on that, right? I agree. It's all a trade-off. I would say though, uh, a sacrifice would involve you doing something and being happy to do it, being proud to do it, wanting to take on the role of being there for her with this other kid. That doesn't sound like that's a lot of sacrifice on your end. It's more like it's in the way for you. Then after a year, her ex was moving states for a new job and a decision had to be made. Okay, I'm sorry, I lost my spot here. Looking back, I just thought that all relationships have some sort of sacrifice. Then after a year, her ex was moving states for a new job and a decision had to be made about the kid, and her ex wanted full custody, which I thought was great as he was a good guy. And well, of course, he thought it was great because you weren't on board for the kid anyways, which is fine. But just be honest with yourself. As he was a good guy and had a wife and a good job, so why not? My girlfriend agreed to it, but she wasn't happy about it, and I believe eventually led to her being depressed. So here's the thing: what's good for you is not always good for her. She's actually a mother, dude. So I don't know if you've read about stuff like this or been around mothers, but they usually don't like to give up their kids, especially when they're babies. I don't have any studies on that. This isn't, me going into the vault and going, studies show. This is just pretty regular thing, right? Unless a lot of them do, right? So the idea that she's not happy about not having her kid regularly, don't be surprised. Okay. After that baby left, she wasn't the same, and she started blaming me for not even caring. And then in the next hour, she'd ask if I wanted to have kids. Well, see, there you go. She's got a void there. She had this 2-year-old kid. Now she's got a void. She's also 25 years old, right? And maybe 23, 24 when this conversation was going on, because I don't see how many years you were together. Oh, that was 3 years ago. Okay, so maybe 22, 23, right? And that's the other thing about people in their 20s, right? Especially in their early to mid 20s. They're more impulsive. They can change their minds. They're not settled into a career. Okay, so things are more fluent. It's more like a river or a stream of water. And someone said, "Oh, why'd you change her? Now you want kids?" Dude, she's in her 20s. All right. So he writes, "It was crazy. I told her no, and that her baby was better off with her dad, as she wasn't in a position to take care of it the way the dad could." So that probably went over really well, dude. So this is great that you wrote your story out, by the way, because you could reread this as a stranger and really maybe get a new viewpoint, right? What I would say to that is that you're self-serving yourself because you don't have a kid, you don't want a kid, you were never attached to this kid, and that's okay. On the flip side, you're completely missing the the point of how she feels. This really hurt her. So let's just repeat that line again. I told her no, and so after that baby left, she wasn't the same, and she started blaming for not even caring. Then in the next, blaming me, she'd ask if I wanted to have kids. I told her no, and that her baby was better off with her dad. We continued on living together and having a good relationship until about 6 months ago, when her ex decided to move back to the state and town we were in because he was getting a divorce. Wow. So she now wanted 50-50 custody of the kid, which I agreed to, but didn't know what I was getting myself into. Bottom line, dude, you haven't been on deck the whole game, right? And that's, if you've never been in a relationship where someone has a kid and it's not for you, then don't do it, right? Don't do it. The kid came to live with us half the week. Sometimes sometimes the fool as the dad was now single and going out. Okay, so sometimes the full week as the dad was now single and going out. So this is where you kind of figure things. Oh, the dad moved. He's married. He's a good guy. He wants to take care of the kid. Oh, the dad got a divorce. What happened? Shit happens, dude. Right? The dad's probably in his 20s also. So you weren't anticipating this one, huh? So getting back to this, the kid came to live with us half the week, sometimes full. The dad was out, now single and going out. My girlfriend was happy with the new arrangement, but our bedroom life went completely down the drain, and I had to pick the kid up from preschool every other day. I just wasn't up for it, and she knew it. All right, so you've said this multiple times that you're not up for it. You weren't excited about it from the get-go. And this is a really good lesson for people listening out there, that how the relationship starts is how the relationship will prevail over time, right? From the get-go, you didn't like the idea of her having a kid. So any chance or any inconvenience that you've had has fed that belief or feeling, okay? And by the way, it's okay that you don't want to date a woman that has a 2-year-old kid. It's okay that you don't want to take on someone else's kid. But I'll tell you what, then let this woman go. What are you hanging on for? Let the kid go. I'd hint that I never wanted a kid, and she'd hint back, well, you knew the situation when you got with me. I think she's correct in that one. But no, I didn't really. No, I didn't really. And this is interesting, because I'm going to give you some credit here. I'm going to throw you a bone on this one. If you've never been with someone that has a kid, you probably didn't know what it was like. But now you know, and don't continue the slow bleed of this breakup. Okay? What's keeping you in it? The situation has changed. The kid was a weekend thing, then an out-of-state thing, and now it was a full-time thing with me pitching in on dad duties. This went on for a few months until we had our last fight 3 months ago, and she told me that she didn't think I was serious about her long-term anymore, and that she did not want to get married before she was 30. Okay? I mean, did you even want to marry her? Would be my question. Were you considering her being long-term? Is she wrong here? You know, sometimes someone breaks up with you, but really you were at the door the whole time and they just opened it up for you. And that's what this sounds like. This hit me hard, and I just told her, look, I don't want kids long-term, and I don't like this situation. I sort of blamed her ex for not doing his part, and then she defended him. Well, this guy that's the father doesn't sound like that bad of a guy. He's had a divorce. He was out of state. He's taking responsibility of the kid. Now he's divorced again. Now he's single. He's going to do his thing. Bottom line is, okay, get out of this relationship because you don't want to have a kid. The kid's 2 to 3 years old now, right? It's not going away. You giving her shit about it, you guys just don't line up. This is one of those things where I was talking about earlier. Can the problem be fixed? Sorry, a healthy baby's not a problem, right? You're making it a problem. Then I just told her to move out at the end of the month. We didn't talk that week. Her ex actually helped her move out. Of course he did. As I wasn't there, a neighbor told me, and she was moving in with her grandparents, as I was told by her. But I just heard this week that she's back with the ex. And just last month, we had a beautiful weekend together. And I thought we were back together. So just to put some time frame on this, if I'm correct from reading it, they were broken up 3 months. And yeah, they were broken up for 3 months. So last month, we had a beautiful weekend together, and I thought we were back together, only for her to tell me later in the week that she couldn't go back to me and that I'll never change my feelings about her kid. I think she's correct, right? So here's the thing. Post-breakup, when you're still in contact, you can still hook up, but the problem's not going away. So what happens is, it's Friday night, Saturday night, someone wants to get intimate, someone says the right things, you guys hook up, one thing leads to the next, someone thinks, oh God, we're back together. But then she wakes up and goes, no, you're the same person that I woke up with, 2-3 months ago, and the kid's still a problem. I don't understand then why have that getaway weekend where we had a great time and lovemaking was unbelievable. Then to just go back to your ex, I hope it's not true. So here's a big one about this story. You don't know if it's true yet that she's back with her ex. So you can confirm that maybe by just calling her or what have you. But bottom line is, dude, reread this thing. And if you want to book a live coaching session, you already paid the $25 to send your story, and I'll take $25 off, right? Bottom line is, you don't want to be in this relationship. You probably just want the intimacy. And if that's the case, just be honest with yourself and accept that. Quit giving her shit about her kid and then, I just never wanted to have a kid. I just never wanted to have a kid. That's okay. I don't have a problem with that. You don't want to be in a relationship with a single mom. That's fine. Then don't. Because that part of the segment's not changing, dude. So now I'm wondering, how do I just move on from a 3-year relationship that was mostly good, that a month ago I was sure I was back to being good, then now she's back with her ex? What do I do moving forward? I want her back. Well, bottom line is, this is not a good relationship. You keep saying it's a pretty good relationship. It was a pretty good relationship for you. It was a bad relationship for her. Think about that for a moment. Remove yourself from this for a moment, right? And I get it. I've been a selfish guy before in relationships. I haven't done it when there's a kid involved. Okay. You got a kid involved here. You're looking at it as a single guy that has no kids. You're not attached to this kid. You don't have a whole lot of compassion about her situation. And the kid's kind of a nuisance to you. Okay. So you getting back together with her would involve you saying, you know what? I want to be a part of this kid's life moving forward. I want to be there for you. I want to be more understanding. I haven't heard 1 ounce of that in this story. Okay. So moving forward, go into no contact, book a live coaching session with myself or someone else out there, unpack this story a little deeper. But right now, you're chasing something that's not going to change, right? And this would get worse and worse. And I don't think she's going to go back to you at this point. If she's back with her ex, which is a possibility, if that's the baby's dad, there's a good possibility that really is her best move right now. Okay. And you're thinking like, I can't believe it. I can't believe she went back. Believe it, dude. Okay. She's a single woman. She's got a kid. She had a relationship with this guy before. He's now single. It's not shocking. Okay. So don't get too hung up on that part. But if you got any balls, gusto, pride, go into no contact. You're the one that told her to get out. You're the one that said, I don't want kids. You're the one that said, I'm not up for this. Stand on it. Okay. The fact that you want her back, that's good and fine, but you don't really want this relationship. That's different. You just want your way. All right, let's get into the live stream for a bit here. Innovative Entertainment, how you doing, bud? I've been avoiding my ex for 2 years after she cheated. She's now at the same gym as I am. Afraid that she would ask me to be friends. Should I ignore her? Why would you be afraid of that, Carlo? Come on, man. She's now at the same gym as I am. Oh, because she's cheated after she cheated. Afraid that she would ask me to be friends. So here's your options. Go to a new gym if it's really uncomfortable. Nothing wrong with that, by the way. Find a reason that you go, hey, you know what? I've always wanted to go to that other gym downtown that was a little bit more money, but it's a nicer gym. Now you have a reason to do it, right? Someone might go, oh, don't avoid your problems. Don't avoid. I wouldn't say that. I would say you're leveraging the idea that, is there a better gym I can go to? That's an option. Number 2, if you want to ignore her, you can. If it's fucking up your gym time, then like I said, find a new gym. Now, if she said, oh, can we just be friends? And you don't want to be friends, you can just say, yeah, okay, but you don't have to continue to be her friend. It was 2 years ago, right? Are you still wounded by it? And if you want to avoid her or ignore her, go ahead. But what I'd ask you, Odd Carlo, which is a weird name, what do you really want? Do you want her back? Do you want her attention? Do you just want to move forward, or do you just want to never talk to her again? What do you want? Don't react to what she wants. Oh, she might ask me to be friends. What should I do? What do you want? What would be ideal for you? That's where I would start. Odd Carlo, you should be at least comfortable being friends after it feels like there's something else. Schedule with Mackie knows his stuff. Thanks, Innovative Entertainment. Carlo, yeah, we can unpack it if you want to. G Money, back on deck. All right, we got eight on deck, 7 likes. Like I said, I'll be on deck all this week, 10 a.m. committed. It's scheduled in. It's on Facebook and Instagram, I think. So if you want to see the schedule this week, I guess it's on the Facebook. I got someone helping me out with that. All right, folks, one more story, and then I got to go. I got an appointment here. All right. Let me see this. Hey, Mac. First off, thank you for very real advice and insight you give. No BS. Well, thank you for saying that. And this title. Sometimes people, when they send in their stories, they title their stories. He wrote, "Lost a Wonderful Girl." Just lost a wonderful girl. See, that could be reframed right away. Had a wonderful girl. Was able to be in a relationship with a wonderful girl, right? All right, let's get into it. I got dumped by my girl of 6 years and 10 months. Wow, that's tough. I've never used the word dumped for myself, and I've never felt like I was quote unquote dumped. That's a harsh word, isn't it? We don't even use the word dumped very often with anything else. We lived together and traveled the world for the first 3 years, then were distanced the last 3 years because I was doing my PhD. All right, so that's a big issue. Even though you were together for 6 years, 3 years, you were long distance, you were on your purpose, you're doing something admirable and impressive in getting a PhD, but at the same time, you're trading off long-term relationship, right? We had a beautiful, fun-loving relationship until long distance. Well, dun dun dun, right? Bottom line is long distance isn't for a long-term relationship. It can work, but the odds are against you. And the longer you're in long distance with no finish lines, the more possibility that someone ducks out the back door. And I'm going to add to that, where you live in the world, where they live in the world, what your status is, where you're at, what their status is, will affect how long they wait for you. Because if they have more options than you have options where they're at, whether it's a man or woman, someone, oh, women are more likely, no, whether it's a man or woman, right? They will get lonely. And if they are getting approached by other individuals, they're more likely to find a reason to break up because they want to be single and they got someone waiting in the wings. So she resented me not living with her those 3 years, and I basically kept her around, promising to live with her once the program ended. I finally graduated and ended up moving back to New York, where I grew up, in with my best friend because I felt like I hadn't prioritized my family. She was going to school a few hours away, a drive rather than a flight, and we were on shaky terms. Well, bottom line, if you hadn't been together for 3 years, I don't have a problem with you not wanting to just move in together right away. And if you were moving back to be closer to your family, living with a best friend, not a bad move. If we were doing a live coaching session, I want to know a little deeper about why you're on shaky terms. Clearly, I didn't prioritize her, and I regret it tremendously, as she is a wonderful woman. Well, hindsight's 2020, dude. That's a statement that's absolutely factual. Everyone, I should have bought the Bitcoin. Okay. Truly one of a kind. She initially agreed to try and make it work, but then dumped me on a road trip with a lot of hateful things to say. Well, some women will hold it in. They hint. This is what I've noticed in working with women. They like to hint. So, and men like, especially if you're a PhD, you probably value the truth, the facts, you're research based, I'm guessing. So why didn't you just tell me this before? Women like to hint. They like to tell you things in metaphor or talk about a friend's problems, but they're really talking about their problems. And working with women, they do it all the time. They'll say, well, this, and this. And I'm like, well, did you tell him that? No, I didn't tell him that. He should know already. He should already know. I gave her a few months of space, then contacted her and we started talking again. We both said we weren't dating anyone and things seemed to be progressing, but I was getting a lot of mixed signals. I definitely pushed us getting back together more than just focusing on getting closer and attraction, and told her I would move in with her after my lease was up. All right, so that's just 0 going to 100. Okay, so you have problems. I'd like to unpack these hateful things that she said. So the hateful things that she said would tell me exactly what her issues are, right? But that's where you're wrong. You just want to get on dates and go out together and rebuild attraction. You're trying to go, well, I'll move in with you, as if that's what she really wants. She was skeptical and said she wasn't ready for a relationship. Eventually, I got a great job. And here's the thing. You actually, because you said you're together 6 years, 10 months, you were together 3 years. Did you live together those 3 years prior to the long distance? And then also, I would add, living together is like a different language than being in a long distance relationship. So when you say like, oh, I'll just live with you, and you've been 3 years long distance, careful what you wish for, dude. Totally different ball game. Totally different ball game. Eventually, I got a great job offer and called her to tell her I had to make a decision, but would give it up to move to her and work things out. See, that's just not attractive. If you guys had been together for a long time, you had been living together, maybe you do that, right? But probably one of the things that attracted her to you, or attracted her to you, was the fact that you were doing a PhD and work came first and you had a purpose. This idea that you got a great job offer and you were going to just shelve it for her, if she knew you really well and she's a wonderful woman, she doesn't want you to resent that later on. She told me she didn't want to, and it finally came out that she had been seeing someone since a month after we broke up, 5 months at that point. Well, bottom line is, when she's seeing someone, she's not serious about him. So here's the thing. If you guys were long distance, you're always opening the door for a back burner kind of guy. People call them orbiters. I call it a back burner. In other words, you know, you're long distance. She's getting to know some guy that's been flirting with her, that likes her. You know, there's a good chance that even though she started dating someone a month after, maybe it's been a little bit longer than that. Bottom line, if she's a wonderful woman, right, she's going to have access to other dudes. She said it wasn't serious and they were just having fun, but it obviously devastated me. At least she was honest. She is drop dead gorgeous and cool as fuck and seems to jump into new relationships quickly. Well, I mean, that's a throwaway statement. If you were together for 6 years and 3 years long distance, right? I don't know if she jumps into new relationships quickly. Although she never had a long relationship before me, I told her I was done trying to fight for her. And if she didn't want to fight back, and said I might check in with her in a year after the position ends, and we'll see where we both are. Well, doing this for a little while, I never liked the statement, oh, can you fight for me? Or they didn't fight for the relationship. This relationship was already tarnished by you being gone for 3 years, dude. And you might look back and go, if I did this right or I did that right, it would be all good. That's just not true. People do that all the time. If I did this and I did that, then it would have went right. No, not necessarily. Right? Not necessarily. We both said I love you and haven't talked since. That was 4 months ago. She sent a few BS messages, which I didn't respond to, like pretending she just received a shared photo album a month after I sent it, and recently emailed me some old pictures of our trip saying she was cleaning out her hard drive. I responded to the last email basically saying thanks and hope she and her family are well. No response from that. Well, here's the thing, man. Your relationship had a slow burnout, right? You're together 6 years, but 3 years you didn't live. You were long distance. She's seeing someone else. It feels like it got really casual for her, but you still had these hard up feelings. We always want what we can't have, right? Scarcity is attractive, and she became more and more scarce. I'm not sure if she's still seeing that guy or if it's serious, but her life seems to be the best it's ever been. Her career is really taking off. I'm proud of her, but also I have so much mixed anger and love. Well, I'd suggest you book a live coaching session. And we'll unpack that, because you can't have anger and love, and you got to accept those feelings. And I have a new toolkit now. I do some hypnosis, some emotional freedom technique. There's a lot more to the repertoire that I'm using than just talking and coaching. So if you want to book a live coaching, let's do it. And if you don't find it useful and helpful, I'll give you your money back. I'm trying to move on, but it's been a bitch because we really had something beautiful. We are both prideful people, and I don't know if she will ever contact me for real. I want to marry this woman if she can work things out. This is great. This is great when you write this. I want to marry this woman. So you're broken up. She's doing really well. She's gorgeous. She's cool. She's wonderful. You left her 3 years on her own, long distance. And now you want to go to marriage. You were willing to give up a good job offer just to be with her. Here's the crazy thing, dude. And I know you've seen a lot of Hollywood movies and stuff like that. And so you think, oh, Leonardo DiCaprio would have, kissed her on the boat and ran her down in the streets and said, oh, I'm not going to do that. It's not Hollywood, dude. What you're doing is not attractive. What you're doing is saying, oh, I'm going to put you on this pedestal and put my life second. She doesn't believe you, but she also doesn't respect you for that kind of outlook. Does that make sense? And the idea that you suddenly want to marry her if we can work things out and I can ever get over her being with someone else. So you got 3 things there, and that's a big one, actually. That's a huge one. Guys that have long-term relationships with women, they look at it like, that's mine. She's mine. The minute they have a new relationship and you end up getting back together, it's hard to get amnesia on that. You're probably going to bring that up again. The idea that you're thinking like, what, I have to forgive her for that. It ain't going away, right? All she wanted was to live with me and start a family, and I let her down. Well, we need to reframe that, because it sounds like right now, I don't know if she feels that same way now. Do you see a potential future with us? What would you recommend I do? Well, I'd probably have to do a live coaching with you to really get into what I recommend and the idea of a potential future. But if you were a good boyfriend, you're a good guy, you got a PhD, you got a lot of things lined up, you're a good catch, you're a high value man, as the YouTube likes to say. Oh, you're a high value man, right? Then you got a shot. You always have a shot of getting back together if you were a good partner, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, or wife overall. And you got to believe that also, right? The idea that you put getting a PhD before living together is not a bad thing, right? You weren't a drug addict. You're not a crackhead. You're not Pookie in New Jack City, right? So when someone breaks up with you and you were pretty good together and you got a pretty good baseball card, what I mean by that, like you make good money, you got an education, you have good habits, right? All that weighs in on someone wanting to come back to you or not coming back to you. So like when people come to me and they're, let's just say they're extremely out of shape, their confidence is really low, they hate their job, they're less likely to get their ex back. Surprise, surprise. When you have your shit together, you're more likely that they might come back around. But here's the thing. If you're overly invested in the idea of getting them back or just doing anything it takes, that becomes unattractive. You want to be that person mindset wise that first met them, that thought, oh, this is cool. We'll go on a date. We'll see what happens. She's attractive. You want to get back to that mindset. You also want to get back to a place that she's not the only thing that you can hook up with in the world. That's probably one of the hardest things for men. If you're hung up, if you're at a place where you really miss your ex-girlfriend and you do anything and everything, it's actually not a good place. That's Hollywood shit, right? If you've been apart for a long time, she's been seeing someone else, you got to get back out there at some point. You can take a relationship fast and just say, I just want to take a break, lick my wounds. I'm okay with that. There's nothing wrong with that. But at some point, you got to get back on deck and prove to yourself that you aren't one of these people that's like, this is the only person I could ever marry. It's pretty limited, isn't it? It's like you got a PhD, you got a great job offer. You were willing to throw away that job offer. You know why? Because you were willing to bet on yourself that you could get another good job offer. The question becomes, are you willing to bet on yourself when you get back on deck? Could you get another wonderful woman? And here's the crazy part. That makes you more attractive. Book a live coaching session, my friend. All right, let me get back here. In case you forgot, Stephen Mather, I do know who it is, my friend. G Money says, ouch, swordfish. Welcome. If you're still on deck, good to hear from you, buddy. Finally able to catch one of these streams. Long distance for 3 years. She's 100% found some intimacy elsewhere. Possible. Every guy thinks this girl is the most special person in the world. It's never true. You can tell people don't really want their ex to be happy. They want to have ownership over their ex because people always are hurt when they hear their ex is happy or doing well without them. Well, it's one of those things, right? It's it's human nature to want what you can't have. It's even more appealing to want what you've had but now can't have. Remember when you were a little kid and you had some toys? There was a toy you played with sometimes, but the toy got old, and then a friend came over and started playing with your toy, and you were like, wait, I want that toy back now. It's suddenly valuable, right? Same thing applies. And it's really difficult. I've dealt with a lot of guys before. Women's past relationships for men, let alone a buffer relationship in between you getting back together, it's hard to get over. It's hard to get through. There's a lot there. If you truly love the person, you would be happy to hear they're doing well with or without you. I agree, G Money. In a perfect world, that is the right way to be. But first, you got to accept it. That's the biggest thing. Just accept the fact that you broke up, that things didn't work out. And like I said, one of the biggest things is, oh, if I would have done this or I would have done that, who knows? Who knows, folks? Because you could win the lottery, right? You could win $10 million and be ecstatic, the luckiest person in the world. And somehow, some way, you could lose that $10 million. Or something can happen in your life because of you making that much money that actually hurts you. So you just never know what's next, folks. You got to accept the present. So if you'd like to book a live coaching session with myself, the link's below. If you want to watch the show this week, I'll be live every day. Tomorrow is going to be talking about not labeling your ex or just not labeling people in general, the word narcissist and why it doesn't help you. And if you want to debate that, that'd be great because I'm open to that. It's pretty interesting. I'm going to pull up a few different websites to show about that and talk. As much as it hurts, push yourself to get out and date again. I agree. And it's not, when I say that, it's not easy. I'm not saying that that's an easy thing to do. I don't throw that out there like, oh, yeah, man, just get out there. If you need to take some time away because it's equivalent like you're in a boxing ring and you need some smelling salts. I mean, you're dazed and confused. You're hurt. Well, then maybe you need a little bit of time, right? But at some point, you got to realize, hey, I got to get back on deck. At some point, you're allowed to take some time off. All right, folks, take it easy.